Hey guys, what's going on? And my last ghost video got a good response. So as I promised, I'm gonna give you guys another ghost story. And this one, unlike the last one, is not set in my own house. This is set in my friend's house, but it doesn't really matter because some scary shit has gone down in my friend's house before, which I would like to tell you now. Before I start, my friend's house is it's 15-minute drive from the city, about 15 minutes, and so it's pretty much it's on a farm. Well, it's not really on a farm, but he's got no neighbors. His road is pretty much deserted. I swear he's the only one who lives on his road because I have not seen anyone else at his house and abandoned houses on his road, which makes the scenario a bit more scary. But his house is a house that all the main stuff happens downstairs. So the kitchen's downstairs, the lounge is downstairs, the computer room's downstairs, and all the bedrooms that are in use, they're all downstairs. So pretty much the upstairs is just two bedrooms that are not in use. Now, my friend's mom, being so kind that she is, she let these two Chinese tourists stay in the top two bedrooms for a couple months while they were in the country. And at first, these two Chinese tourists were very normal. They're very nice people. They're both girls. They're in their mid-20s, and so like I said before, they're very normal people, and I think they were here for a university trip or some shit. But that doesn't really matter. But anyway, me and my friend got home once from an early finish at school. So we got home at around 2:30, and we were by ourselves. I think we were watching Nickelodeon, and we were 11 years old or 12 years old, can't really remember. But we were watching Nickelodeon, and then we heard some bang coming from upstairs, like something dropped on the floor coming from the tourist's bedroom. And that was weird because the tourists weren't home, and they get home at about 3 o'clock, so they get home in about half an hour, and there was no one home. So we got up to check what it was, and there was a photo frame on the ground, and it was broken, and the glass on the photo frame, it broke all over the floor and everything. So we were a bit startled for a second. We're like, whoa, what could have done that? Because there wasn't an earthquake or anything, and no one's up here. So we were like, what is going on here? So anyway, we got our shit together, and we picked everything up. And then after we got everything cleaned up, there was a knock at the door. So we were at the top story, so we could see who was knocking on the door. So we looked out the window and we saw this Chinese dude, and the weird thing was that he had no transport to actually get to the house. He had no car, he had no bike, and there's no public transport that actually goes on my friend's road. So how could have he got here? And he couldn't have walked because the city is about a 5-hour walk away. So we were like, what is this dude? Okay, how did he even get here? Is he a psycho or something? So obviously we didn't open the door, but he looked pretty normal to me. He was a Chinese dude in his mid-20s, as I said before. He looked pretty normal, but he had no way of getting here. So we didn't know who he was. Now, because we were so young, my friend's mom didn't allow us to open the door to strangers. So what we did is we hid for a couple minutes. Then we go check if he's still there, and sure enough, he's gone. But how could have he gone? That's what we were wondering. Where could have he gone to? He had nowhere to go. Okay, there is no neighbor's house or anything. He has no car. He had no motorbike. He had no form of transport at all, and no buses or taxis. They never go down my friend's road. So we were pretty speechless about that. But then we heard footsteps downstairs, and I swear to God, we heard footsteps, and we just dropped our balls, and we friggin' hid under the covers of the tourist bed, and we were under there it felt like we were under there for 5 hours, and these footsteps, they didn't stop. We heard them going from the door to the kitchen, from the door to the kitchen, and then they stopped, and when they stopped, we waited for about 5 minutes under the covers, and then we got out, we got my friend's tennis rackets, and we went downstairs, and there was no one there at all. Nothing was broken, and nothing was changed. Everything looked the same. And we were scared out of our minds. We had no idea what was going on, and it was about 4 o'clock now, and the tourists still weren't home, and we were getting a bit worried about them because they're usually home by 3 o'clock every day. And time kept passing by. It got to 4:30. My friend's mom got home. We didn't tell. I didn't tell my friend's mom about the Chinese dude because she'll probably just think we're crazy. So we just kept that to ourselves. And the tourists, they still weren't getting home. Now it got to 9:30, and we were gonna go to bed because I was gonna stay the night at my friend's house. And it got to 9:30. We were about to go to bed, and the tourists still weren't there, and we were getting really worried. You were thinking that something happened to them. So we went to bed anyway, just hoping that they would turn up in the middle of the night, and they actually did. They turned up at about 12 o'clock the next day, 12 o'clock at night, which is the next day. Knocking on the door. They're knocking on it really loud, and we didn't know who it was. So anyway, we followed my friend's mom to the door. She opened the door up, and it was the tourist. And I could tell by their eyes that they had been crying, but we don't know what's happening to them. So obviously something bad's happened to them because they've been crying. But because they're not very good at English, they couldn't really tell us. But after a couple minutes of them explaining some random shit to us in Chinese, we could hardly understand what they were saying. We worked out that her boyfriend died in a motorcycle accident in China earlier this morning. Now, so first of all, it didn't really bother me because I don't want to sound mean here, but when someone dies and you don't know, obviously it's a bit sad, but you don't really care, okay? Just be honest. You don't care if someone dies and you don't know, okay? People are dying right now. You don't really care about that. So, we didn't really care, but, we felt sorry for her. But anyway, it was a couple days later, me and my friend were talking about it. We're like, hey, remember that dude that knocked on your door, and then we heard footsteps downstairs, and we were just talking about that. But then we got to the conclusion that dude that was knocking on my mom's, no, not my mom's, that was knocking on my friend's mom's door. We got to the conclusion that it was actually this may sound crazy, but it was actually the tourist's boyfriend. Why do we think that? Because the day that the tourist's boyfriend died in a motorcycle accident was the day that we saw this random dude knocking at the door with no form of transport or anything. We heard footsteps downstairs, and what was it again? A photo frame fell from the top of the wall. That day, wasn't it just a coincidence that day was the day that the tourist's boyfriend died? So we came to the conclusion about that. But anyway, tell me what you think about it, and give me your thoughts, and I'll see you later.